Welcome back, audience. Hope you're doing good. As always, I'm just chilling here, drinking some tea in my garden. And in this video, I want to talk about test versus trust. And that's just going to be my another attempt in slicing something so precisely so the way you approach life it becomes so much easier. And what we're going to do, we're going to say no to the entire structure of ego or matrix, and of course, yes to the entire structure of soul in the context of relationships between a man and a woman. If you're this type of man and you are interested in something that's real and no longer interested in this type of false relationships when people are together but there's nothing really connecting them, there's a physical presence, but uh, you know, soul soulful, or which is feeling wise, there's nothing there, right? Like that falseness or that pretty constant struggle and constant arguments and conflicts and all of that. Like if you're this type of man and you're ready to say no to the entire fucking thing but still want to have real relationship, real loving relationship, then this video is for you. Okay, I'm very simple. Everything is an ego world is no, everything is in a soul world is yes. And if there's a little bit of negotiation in ego world, fuck off. No, trust me, if you have this type of cut-off game, you don't let a little sprout, a little weed of darkness to sprout. Cut it off at the beginning. You'll thank me later if you start approaching life like that. Okay, so looking at the tests, or shit tests as sometimes they're called, and trust. Okay, now if a woman is testing you, she's insecure, period. Okay, why? Because any woman that is secure in herself and she has that sufficient intelligence and awareness of what's going on, she can read men immediately and she already knows whom she can trust and whom she can't. Okay, she already knows. She doesn't need to test the man. All games of test is ego games, and if you are willing to pass her tests, that's gonna make you into some douchebag that perhaps gonna have at the end of all this passing her test, maybe you're gonna get laid once or whatever, right? And then want to chase her out of your nest. That's the whole dynamic of when a male chooses a female. That happens in nature, by the way. Okay, I'll talk about this in a second, a little more. So this is how you deal with the tests. If a woman tests you, okay, deliberately or not, don't bother, completely do not bother getting her involved in any kind of sexual or romantic connection with you. Keep her on the outskirts of your energy as a friend for the alchemical purposes, because she's probably going to dump all this stuff on you. And if you are not, you know, connected at that intimate level, you have a capacity to sufficient attention awareness to alchemize all of those energies. So this is why you do not reject the people who are like that. And it's, you can be in a mutually healthy relationship that is not based on romance or sex. It's a friend, but really what's going on is she needs a father figure, right? You're not a therapist or anything like that, but you keep this type of woman as a friend. Okay, this will allow you to, like I said, alchemize all of those feelings, all these negative feelings that she may dump on you, and that will allow you to grow your compassion without losing your chest, losing your shit in the middle of it, right? You cannot afford to lose your shit because you have lose the capacity to any kind of alchemy or growth or anything like that. And as you do this, she will also, and sometimes you're gonna have to say no, because she's gonna want to seduce you and have a romantic relationship with you, and you're gonna have to say no, no to that. And then she may flip about this fact, alchemize it all, and you don't ever let her come into your inner sanctum, so to speak, where your little heart lives, because she's gonna wreak havoc. You don't, but you keep her as a friend. Okay, that's what I do with a woman like that. I don't completely reject them. I keep them as my friend. I interact with them. There's no prospects of any kind of sex or romance, but I interact with them. I talk to them, and sometimes, one particular occasion, they when they get a little bit more comfortable, they tend to sort of dump their shit onto you, but it's not personal. You can see that there's nothing to do with you, but you can, in this particular case, because you're not emotionally involved, you can see what's going on, and you can see like, oh my god, this is just like she is venting all the hatred towards the entire gender of men, and so, all right, cool, you are present, you can alchemize all that and not be moved out of your center. And when she's done venting, you can still be your friend, give her a hug, okay, and say, hey, we don't talk to each other like this, okay? You set your frame, and state control, frame control, right? And do not engage in any, because any kind of connection, if you engage in this type of woman who's going through this, you are going to get in sort of lustful and entanglements that is just going to fuck you up, okay? These types of women who carry this types of the type of energy is for the alchemy purposes only, okay? But you have to understand, a lot of women never had the real father, or like the father that they had. I mean, these women talk to me and they say things that are real, and I can see why they're a psycho bitch, as I'm trying to say. And it's almost not through the fault of their own. Of course, they have a certain type of responsibility because it takes two to tango. She also have to learn through the means of devotion of how to dissolve the negative feelings, just like we do as guys when we confront the negative feelings and we alchemize them. That's why I said, like, the woman also has this responsibility, but she does it more through the surrender way because she has more capacity for the openness, and the man has more capacity through the attention and piercing through it, right? The courage and surrender. Those are just two words to describe the faculty of your soul. And the woman tend to be much easier for her to surrender and dissolve that negative feeling. And for the man, it's much easier to pierce through towards the truth. And for her, is to find the compassion, for you to find passion, right? Okay, so, but a man and a woman must be approaching life like that, starting at the heart. And this is what I'm getting at in terms of what the trust is, right? So this is your approach, right? When you're going to have to say no to this type of dynamic, your dick may be super angry about the whole thing, that you're saying no to this type of sex, right? But you have to say no, because trust me, this is like this seductive and lust-based sex. It has no value. It's just gonna make you feel like shit in exchange of one temporary jolt of pleasure. What a fucking waste of time and energy, and what kind of scam this is, right? So you don't go into this at all, because a woman who carrying this type of energy, she does not yet have capacity for love. She does not have yet capacity for that type of openness that is required for her to even accept that, passion fully. They can't do it. See what I'm trying to say? You cannot. They may have like a small little openness, and so you cannot just. You see what I'm trying to say? Okay, I'm not gonna go into the details too much, but I'm trying to say that um, they are what they are in the the game of life and the maturity of their soul. They are what they are, and if you keep them as friends, they're going to grow. Before I used to go into romantic relationships, I was like, well, she's a kind of a psycho bitch, so but I'm okay, I can handle it. But the thing is that no, you cannot, because if you like it with your inner, then you losing your shit, and it's not right. You have to be always guarding your golden throne. So you cannot let just anybody to wreak havoc inside your little heart. I always say, like, you have a little heart, which is your soul, and you have a big heart, which you can call it the spirit. And the big heart is for everybody. It's compassion and passion. And this is why you let everybody in your big heart, because you're gonna have to alchemize, and it's just gonna allow you to grow compassion. And even though there's, from your side, you may feel peace and compassion towards a person, and that person may not even register that fact. They may not even have any kind of connection to the compassion or any of that feeling. They never felt that. They may still be stuck in their evil ways, but you do not have rage about that evilness. You just have peace about it. And that's the way you say no to what you do not want. This is how you um, uh, disempower the evil, disempower the ego or evil. Okay, that's the way you do it. This is why you don't completely reject these types of women. But if you keep them where they're supposed to be, exactly in your area, in your domain, where they're supposed to be, they're going to appreciate that they finally can have somebody who they don't have to worry about all of these different things, and can finally be real with somebody and have opportunity to grow, And I've had this occasion in my life, multiple occasions like that, but one particular occasion where she actually grew a lot in a couple or 3 years time, where she at first she was just completely unfiltered psycho bitch, and now she's together and more functional than she was before. But of course, I never let her into the romantic sense, because that would be a disaster. So don't do it, okay? Don't do it, because if you're dealing with this type of woman, then and you're not finding the woman that has a certain compassion and trust towards you, right? Then you gotta do your homework. You gotta say no to these types of women. You gotta there's gonna be certain feelings you to alchemize. You do it. See what I'm trying to say? Be willing to deal with all the consequences when you say no to this type of ego-based dynamic, and deal with them. But if you don't let them in close into your inner sanctum or your little heart, where there's where you actually, because when you let somebody in your heart, you basically let them do what they want to do, right? And if they bring crap, then you are full of crap again. So you don't do it. Okay, they're allowed to be in your aura, in that space, that big heart, but they're not allowed to come into the inner heart. If you do this, you're going to have way more coherence in your life, way more control, and way more clarity in your mind as well. Okay, this is the mistake that I've used to make, and as soon as I stopped making this mistake, I realized how better off I am. I used to deal with these tests, and I thought that they have to pass these tests, and that's a measure of a man. It's not a measure of a man, it's a measure of an idiot. That's what's a measure for. So a woman who tests you like that, she has no trust or capacity for compassion. And so why would the altogether man would want this type of woman, right? The fact is that she knows that she doesn't really have what a real man wants, and that is love, trust, devotion, respect. She's just like metaphysically incapable of having that. Depending, because there's some women are, it's like a spectrum, right? Um, some women are very, very dark. By the way, it's a kind of depth. Some women are deep and some women are shallow. And it's not a negative way. It's just like the types of souls. Some souls are very, very deep, some a little bit shallow. It's just because that's what they chose to play at this particular life. It's not a problem. But the deep person, and not even the woman, the person deep, if they go in the dark, they go super fucking dark. And if they go light, they go super light. That's the thing about them. Okay? It's the depth that they carry. But they may be somewhere on the spectrum, right? And wherever they are, that's where they are. And to actually graduate from one level to another, it is a big deal. And like I said, there's 56. What I've discovered to be the case, there's 56 distortions or demons that we have to overcome, or 56 negative emotions, if you like. That they all boil down to the 4 types of feelings and 2 types of sort of polarizations, masculine version, feminine version, 4 elements, and 7 colors. And these are 7 levels of the frequency, which are emotions and feelings. Okay, I don't want to go into the structure of this particular video, but you see what I'm trying to say. Okay, now, so this is the approach. And the more you say no to that, the more you're going to have to alchemize, the more you're going to enter different states of consciousness, and the more you're going to be in the presence of women with real, genuine love. These women, they love men, but they don't love men like these OnlyFans bitches. You know what I'm trying to say? They don't really love men. They hate men. And the men who are actually using these types of services are actually hate women. There's actual hate-based sexual transaction. It's all hate-based. But this type of woman, she's not necessarily like, gullible, but she has this aura of love and peace towards the entire gender. It's like the opposite of what the dark bitches have. Okay? And she's not silly, she's not stupid. She can recognize with a man who is just like playing the lust games and who is real. She feels all that because she's already been through all that. Her essence of compassion shows her everything that she needs to know. you know. So you want to have relationships that are romantic and intimate with these types of women. And you have to pay your dues to meet this type of woman and to even interact with type of woman. Okay? And when you interact with type of woman, she must choose you. You don't choose her. You are what you are as a man. You behave naturally as a man should. But the game of romance does not start until the woman chooses the man. Okay? This is just what happens in nature as well. If a male chooses a female, there's going to be wars, fighting over her, and there's going to be no respect towards female. She's going to be used as a piece of meat for sex and then be later chased out of the nest or whatnot, right? Or of the cave. That's what happens in nature. This is dynamic. Because like woman has no choice. The male chooses her. Whether she likes it or not, don't matter. Then other men say, well, I want her too. Then they fight. And then eventually the winner gets it. And what it gets just, a short jolt of jizz later, feeling angry and all that stuff, right? Like this is the dark way, lust-based way of mating. So you have to understand this, and you have to say to the entire field of this way, say no to entire dynamic like that. Okay? Because that's just gonna turn you into a douchebag and a brute and not a real gentleman. You see what I'm trying to say? You're gonna waste so much energy for very little reward that is a temporary, that leads to more problems. You see what I'm trying to say? Don't fucking go there at all. don't bother of this. Like, right? See what I'm trying to say? You want to be, you want to create your domain. You want to live your life and enjoy the life fully. And I'm going to talk about this, how to do that more. And through your art that you do, through your any kind of expression that you do, you're going to meet somebody through the organic way. Okay? This world of lust, or this engaging on trying to get a girl, it's bullshit. Trust me, it's bullshit. You have to become a man. You have to be developing yourself, but not in this fucking bullshit way where you don't actually develop anything, where you create all sorts of belief systems, listen to somebody else. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the actual permanent change that happens on a soul level every time you go into this negative feeling that has always been bothering you and making you do shit, including seek and chase women. Alchemize all that, and then whatever the reward you were trying to get from that external means is already there. So if the reward was a short burst of orgasm between your legs, now there's ever emanating bliss through the entire experience of life. I mean, are you fucking kidding me? You can't compare the two. This is what I'm talking about. And that bliss is truth. That bliss is coherence. That bliss is that energy that all real women are looking for. They're looking for that bliss. And so, you know, in the Matrix world, women are sort of enslaved. You know, she's almost forced to do things that she doesn't really want. But in this world, when she is enjoying that bliss, everything is making love. Cooking is making love. Gardening is making love. Talking, flirting is making love. Everything is making love. Okay? I don't want to go into this. That might be a little bit too deep for you at this point. But trust me, you can make love with a woman without even needing to touch her. Anyway, I don't want to go into this subject now, but I'm just saying that that's what you really want to have in your life. You want to have bliss and love based relationship. Okay? So you say no to the entire world like that. But when a woman chooses a man, or when a female chooses a male, then something awesome is going on. Then there's artistic explosions, you know, inspirations, creativity. There's this energy love making that's going on between man and a woman. Okay? That's what's going on. And it's much harder to go on this path as a man, because you have to face everything. You have to transmute it. You have to realize, you have to change different frames in your life. You have to say no to the frames that are run by some fucking predatorial demons. Build new ones. You know, like, you are engaged with life directly as a man. You're actually growing. You're actually developing your consciousness as a man. And as a consequence, a woman chooses you. Now, at that point, you are not seeking to be chosen, because you already are in whatever the woman can offer. You already have that. You see what I'm trying to say? The only thing that you don't have is this playfulness with that energy, but you do have the bliss. But what you don't have is what the woman can bring you in your life is playfulness with that bliss. But you already have that bliss. You're not seeking to get that from a woman, which happens in the lust-based relationships, and that is, you know, what women want. Excuse me, what men want. They want to get to that orgasm and then poof, check out. You see what I'm trying to say? that's a punk ass way of living life. And some women who just don't want to be part of this world anymore, this ego world, they're out. And you know, and look, the world is big. Everybody lives on somewhere on the spectrum. And like I said in the previous video, each little particular permutation of where the person is at, what kind of game they're playing, whether they're still playing ego games or they're still graduating and playing soul games, we're all in somewhere on the spectrum. And if you're claiming that you want to have harmony and love and all that stuff, but you're still are scared to say no to this old way of living, then of course you're not going to meet these types of people. And it's what I'm trying to say. Or even if you do meet, you're not going to register. You're not going to register. So what I'm trying to say here is that whatever you want, you have to get to it. It's almost like you live in this one particular timeline, and it's not in this timeline. What you want is not in this timeline. Do you understand? You got to change the way you vibrate in your heart, enter a different timeline where that exists. And which timeline are you on? It's the timeline that the closest thing to peace and bliss, the closest to the ideal timeline you are. So as you can see, your compass is changing. It's not about what the fuck is happening outside or chasing tail and shit like that. You are alchemizing and being as close as possible to peace and bliss. And then you express that in any kind of form of art, music, dance, painting, whatever you want to do. Express it. You express real deal. Okay? And through that, you're going to meet people. And so every single person that's going to come in your life is going to be almost like a challenge or a guide on this journey. Don't get stuck on a person, because that person may just come in for one little moment and reflect that light that you have built for one moment and gone. And that's all right. You see what I'm trying to say? Don't cling on a specific person. Your measure is the feeling now, because it might not be intuitive, it might be even counterintuitive, but the feeling is what you actually want to be connected to. The feeling, right? It's like how many couples are together but there's nothing in between them. There's no resonance there. They share the same space but they don't share the same heart. It's nonsense. What the fuck is that even about? Or other types of couples always fighting, always, and trying all sorts of ways to resolve the situation. What the fuck is that all about? It never ever was all right with me, because I knew somehow intuitively this is fucked up shit. I'm sorry for swearing so much, but I felt it in my heart. It's like, fuck that shit. And I was right, because that type of relationship was void of love, and I was just being sucker for it. But like I said, what I'm communicating right now, this is the approach. If you want to start navigating life like that, you don't reject the people who are functioning from the ego. You keep them as friends for the alchemical purposes. They will allow you to gain compassion and passion. You need them in your life for that reason, as a fertilizer needs, as a flower needs a fertilizer. Okay, and it's helpful for them because they also get to be with somebody who has their shit together in front of them losing their shit, right? So it's helpful on both sides. There's type of evolution happening within you and within them at their level, right? But they can't get into your inner circle because they just can't. Okay, so there's no sex, there's no romance with these types of people, because if you do that, then you basically own or they create that state of consciousness within you as what they are. And then that may even throw you out of your game in your alertness and awareness and suck you into the matrix. So you don't do that. Okay? Any woman who tests you, plays game with you, or do anything, like, you know immediately that she's functioning from the ego. There is no actual value for you there in terms of romance or sex, but there's only value is the alchemical process. Okay? Everybody in your life has a certain type of space where they belong at that particular time, and you got to put them there. Don't reject anybody, right? Like I said, I would be willing to talk with the most evil fuck on this planet just for this sake of alchemical process. But that's not the person that I'm sharing my inner heart. It's not the person. Now, Socrates. See, I always look at what's happening rather than what people are saying. Socrates said, well, if you want to be a real man, a real philosopher, then get a woman or a demon for a woman. Like, and so he married a woman who's just constantly busting his balls, and he thought that that's going to make him into somebody who's, invincible, because if he can handle that, then, he can handle anything kind of thing, right? Well, what happened? His life ended in disaster. It wasn't an explosion and the fireworks of love and light. It was a fucking disaster. Because he was a fucking idiot. Because what the fuck are you talking about? You don't let that darkness in your home. You keep it on the outskirts where you can alchemize it, and you get some woman that is beautiful, devotional, pure, loving. That's who you want to marry. And then fight the demons, but you don't let them in your house. Are you what the fuck? No, this is wrong approach. I'm sorry, but he tested it out and it didn't fucking work. So don't do it. Okay? Don't do it. And usually when a person is functioning on a specific area of the spectrum, it's not going to be that they're going to just jump like 20 levels and, level up and just going to be where you are. It's just not going to happen. They tend to be there where they are and then maybe level up a little bit over lifetimes, until they get to this tipping point where they become more awake than asleep. You see what I'm trying to say? Only then they take the side of the soul. And then whenever this type of woman would lose their control and perhaps inadvertently say things that she doesn't want to say, immediately when she goes back into her soul, she immediately regrets that, apologizes, like, I don't want anything to do with this. I don't want these words to come out of my mouth ever again. This is not me. Don't want this energy inside of me, and find the way to how alchemize that so it does not stick, right? When you have a woman like that, you have somebody who's on your side, somebody who can ultimately trust, because she's already broken through the darkness and she already has certain level of protection through her compassion against the darkness, that stillness, that peace energy. And trust me, I know that most of the people that are watching are probably men, even though, there might be some lurkers out there that they don't really want to show themselves. But what I'm trying to say here is that, trust me, these women do exist, and you may be exposed to the world where just it seems like they don't, but these women do exist. But they're not there where you were looking for. They're not on the dating apps. They're not on the Facebooks or Instagrams. They're not there. You see? But these women do exist, and these women maybe you may meet them in a dance classes, some sort of form of art, some sort of form of expression of art or class or whatever. This is where you're going to meet these types of women. Okay? They don't belong to that world. they also, just like you, saying fuck all of this nonsense. I want to live life on this planet. I want to live a good life, but that is not the fucking life. Whatever the fucking Zuckerbergs and all these fucking assholes built, that they don't even participate themselves, you know. So this is not a fucking life. Whatever the fuck this is some demon ass bullshit, and I'm not part of this. But I will find love, and I will find a real, true, loving relationship, not as manipulative bullshit that everybody is part of. And you know, it's like you have to train a man to be a man. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. You can show a way, and a man is gonna grow by himself. You don't have to fucking program a man of how to be a man, because that's not a man, because then you're just creating another social robot. Okay, enough. As you can see, my distaste for the entire world like that. But these women do exist, and when you sit next to this type of woman, you'll feel this peace emanating from her, or you feel super peaceful in front of her. And that you can feel that there's a support to your masculine energy to express yourself in a nice way rather than blocking it. You see, this is very important, because with some woman you sit and it's like it's tight and she's blocking it. She does not trust you, and so there's an alchemical challenge for you to grow compassion. But with some woman you sit and it's a breeze. You can breathe, you can express, you can make a joke, it's free. You can express yourself freely as a man. Okay? And so, like I said, they do exist. But you got to be yourself, vibing at that level to meet these types of women. Okay? And that's just the way the cookie crumbles. That's the game. Okay? We're all playing this, we're all in this virtual rooms, and you want to create that domain, that life where that is so. It is, you're literally entering a different world where that is so. And if it's like a full of peace and bliss, it's always going to be challenging, right? But you got to keep on sustaining that peace bliss vibe. Okay? Again, so the moral of the story is very simple. Categorical, at the root cause, cutting off at the root cause. There's no more simping, that, oh, that woman is a complete total psycho, but maybe I can fix her. No, you can't. You can't. You can't be romantically involved with this type of person and have be in a position of any kind of help. She's gonna drag you to hell where she came from. So you don't do that. Again, you don't completely totally reject that type of person. You talk. You see, you talk, but you keep it at the alchemical level. Okay? And these types of women, they have to earn their right to be your friend. That's where they're at. Forget about letting them into your house, into your heart, into your little heart. This is just not the way it works, okay? And the ones that trust you, you're going to feel so much trust towards you. You're going to be empowered to be a man, to be a leader. That's how it's not going to be constant struggle to be a man. You're going to be, the reins are going to be given to you. And the problem is going to be now, okay, how do I create the best possible experience for her so she could be in colorful expressions of peaceful bliss type of, playing all sorts of games. Like you become the creator of the experience for her. And she lets you do it. And if you know what you're doing, that's what you do. But you're free. You have a full creative freedom to do that. Okay? but she chooses you in this type of way. Like another thing, how does a woman choose a man? It's a type of openness. It is a specific openness and response to you, and no one else. She's super responsive to you, but she's not responsive to anybody else. That's how she chooses you. Okay, and if she has enough intelligence, she's going to choose the man that is vibing at the same level. Okay, now talking about this feeling that I said. Okay, a lot of things that's happening right now, that's matrix works like that, that is um, taking things away from you, right? So we're going to take you belong to matrix, I'm going to take this away from you. You say, fuck you, I'm not selling my soul. Okay, we're going to take this away from you. Fuck you, I'm not selling my soul. It's not for sale. And to keep on alchemizing, keep defending your soul, and never give in to these types of structures that you're forced to. Never. Because that peace, bliss that you have in your heart is the only reason why you're even fucking living this life. So to sacrifice that is to be the biggest more in the world. So you don't. Because from that peace, bliss, you can create anything. But the more important thing that what I said before, is that what you're actually looking for is the feeling. It's the way the person makes you feel. But in this case, we're flipping everything around. We don't look that in a person, because that's a loser's game. You look for that in your heart. You look for that feeling that completely complements your soul, and you can play with that energy already in your heart. Okay, you don't need anything from the outside. You can find that within yourself. That is where the soul of the person lives, already in your heart. And this is what means to rescue Sophia, save the princess. It's all internal process. You rescue that energy that is just, like the most delicious thing ever. And you spend as much time as possible with that energy, which does not require anything externally. This is why Matrix cannot blackmail you anymore. So what you're going to do? You can't take this away from me. You see, you cannot take this away from me. You can try. I'll alchemize all of those fucking demons, but this is with me all the time. And this is what I call innocence. Innocence to me is that thing that sparkles in the face of light. That type of energy. That's just the way I describe it. But the feeling is what you've been looking for in a person all along, and it's there with you. And so you want to cater and cultivate that feeling as much as possible, and do things that makes that feeling come alive, whatever it is. And that's little by little is what you're gonna meet that soul in the physical as well, and she's gonna carry that energy, same energy. Because if you meet somebody and you can feel that energy is kind of gets dark, and you have to alchemize it, then that's fine. You know who you're meeting with, right? But if somebody comes in and makes it sparkle even more, then you know who you're dealing with as well. Okay? That's how you recognize. It's through the feeling. And this is why the jealousy goes away, everything goes away, because the body is not important anymore. The mind is not even important. And I realize what I'm saying to you might be sort of like high-tech view, but this is how reality really works. If the body goes away, the feeling doesn't. Still there. It will find some other form of expression. Okay? I don't want to, again, like blow your brain too much, because then when it gets into like really deep truths, and if you don't have sufficient level of compassion, then these truths become cold. This is why I don't want to go too deep into the structure of consciousness too much in this video. But let's just say that you want to be loyal to that feeling. As some men say, like, well, women are only loyal to feelings anyway. Yes, rightfully so. But I don't mean this pleasure, but joy. those real feelings. Because of course you should be loyal to that feeling, because if it's you that it is you, if it's you that is that feeling, then she's going to be loyal to you, who you really are, not what you do, not what you think. None of this stuff is kind of cool, right? All of that stuff, but this, what you are, what your vibe is, what your soul is. When you have nothing, what is there? That feeling is still there, and that's what the type of woman is going to be loyal to. The expression, she's loyal to your soul, because your soul is that feeling that allows her to feel safe, allows her to feel like everything is possible, allows her to feel blissful, allows her to enjoy everything. It's the most precious and most valuable thing in this existence as it comes from the man. And you, as a man, you want that love, you want that radiance, that peace. Because the more love and that radiance and peace is there, the more intense the bliss can be, the more power can be there. And why is it power? Because it has a capacity to create beautiful structures in the world, fulfill dreams, everything in a real way, where it's no longer just a physical form, but the emanation of energy, beauty, feelings together. It's all of it. That's real success that I keep on talking about. And this is exactly what you want in the relationship. And if you base relationship on that feeling, everything is going to come up on that feeling. Is going to be amazing. Okay? And then, only then, the expression, then you may want to go in learning a skill or something, what you do with that. But it's all fun. Right? It's not done out of insecurity. Well, I'm going to learn the skill because then I can get some chicks. It's not done this way. You find love, you find that feeling. And once you get an inspiration, then you do those things. And it's no longer to get a woman, but it's actually to play with the woman that you already have. Does that make sense? So there. Don't listen to Socrates. Don't listen to anybody who says that this is right way. It is certainly not the right way of being with somebody who is constantly challenging you and tests you and make you feel like you are walking on eggshells and stuff like that. No, don't be in a romantic connection with anyone like that. Be in a romantic connection with somebody you trust. Oh, guys, trust me, man. Like the feeling and how good you freaking feel when somebody, like a woman, and has this compassion and trust in you. You feel it immediately. You feel fucking free. And then you compare this to whatever the fuck was there in this matrix, is constant arguments, constant fights over nothing, constant manipulations and all that stuff, and you compare that to this, and you think, what the fuck was I even thinking? So you pay your dues, you do whatever the fuck it takes to get the woman who has this type of compassion, who has this type of love, who has this type of innocence. And she will choose you. You don't choose. Don't waste the energy of choosing women. Just do what you do. And naturally, organically, through your activity, through your art, through your creation, you're going to meet this type of woman. Okay? It's almost like a rule. It has to be this way. That's your dating. Your dating app is your heart. You connect to the feeling, and that feeling is that person. And you already can be in a creative expression of some sort of art, whatever you want to do. I have mine, I like to do my architectural stuff and anyway, that this thing that I'm building here. That's my expression. I want to build a holistic village. I want to build sustainable holistic village where the real people live life in a harmonious and independent way. That's my dream. That's what I do, and this is what I'm working on. And through this, whoever I meet, that's what I meet, and that's what I meant to meet, right? So I don't get off my path for the sake of little footpath that it just leads me nowhere. These are all dead end branches that is not worth your time and energy. And there's not really worth being there looking at these videos and how all these men teaching other men how to do this. Like, yeah, no, it's very simple. This is why there's nothing that I can sell to you, because it's, again, like, if I have motivation to make money out of you, then that would be my priority, and I would keep you on the hook. But I'm saying, fuck all of those books, fuck all of those teachers, fuck all of this. It's very simple. You can see there's the ego way and there's the soul way, and all you gotta do is say no to all of the ego ways. That will make you, which is a frame control, that will make you alchemize things, which is a state control, and that will allow you to go into the feeling and state of consciousness where that reality that you always wanted exists. And that is how you play the game of life. Do not waste a single iota of energy playing these manipulating matrix games, because that's just going to suck you in and you're going to get nothing in return. You're going to become social robot with no soul. So don't fucking do it. Okay? You want to be where your girl is already at. Okay? And then again, for the rest of the woman, you are a father figure. You know, let's just be honest, you can be friends, but you are actually a father figure. And that's how you don't reject anybody. See, like even any kind of, I don't care if a woman is a prostitute or a whore, I would still talk to her like as a human being. She's not, of course, gonna be, welcome into my inner sanctum, but she's gonna be somewhere on a spectrum of a friend, and there's going to be some value in that relationship as well. Okay? But there's definitely no question about marrying this type of woman, or being in a sexual relationship. But you're not an asshole. You see that everybody is on their level of development for that particular reason, and there's value in all sorts of connections in your life. Even though if that is just a even if you don't even interact with the person, but the very presence of that person should not trigger the crap out of you, and you don't have to interact with somebody to look at somebody. If they trigger you, alchemize it until there's compassion. Then that's your relationship to that type of person. It's a compassionate no to all the energy, evil energy that they carry. Okay. So there. Make your life easier. And look, like, even if you are one of those men that are kind of lustful and still, it's okay, this is where you are, but you still kind of want to be a friend to some woman who has like a high level of compassion. So you could, it's in the reverse, because this compassion is this mothering energy, passion is this fathering energy, and some immature souls need that, right? So if you're this type of guy who's still functioning on lust and kind of still trying to get out of it, you'll get a huge benefit. Of course, don't try to smash her, But if you have a woman who has that level of compassion as a friend, you see, then that could help you a lot to let go of all sorts of your lustful drives and all of that nonsense and sort of get out of there. But the point of it all is this: it's saying no everything to ego, saying no everything that is ego. With compassion, you say no because that's peace. The universe understands this. If you're peaceful about something, then you said no to that. Okay? And if you're passionate about something, then you said yes to that. So there. I know that what I'm saying is a big shift, and it may take a gradual tweaking and tuning and tuning and tuning until you kind of finally get the hang of it. And I'm in the process as well, and it is a process. Constant self-correction, every day, constant self-correction, understanding how it all works. But these are the principles that I'm sharing to you, and I'm saying that as a man, you can have women who are functioning on that type of level, because and some women, for example, they are submitting themselves to abuse. And before I thought like, well, I'm going to save this woman, and I don't have the same view anymore. If a woman is submitting herself to abuse, she is equally responsible for that dynamic, because she has a choice, always has a choice. Pretends that she doesn't, but she does, of course. And so if there's the type of dynamic, I know what's going on. It's an ego with ego playing games, and I leave that be. That person can be my friend, and I'll talk to that type of person, and and whatnot. And if there's type of energy that I have to feel and alchemize, I will alchemize, and that will be help to me and help to that person mutually. But I don't let them inside my inner sanctum. I've done this before, and this is nonsense. There's no actual help. You let the people evolve on the level that they're at. Okay? And this compassion is the only thing that you can do. Because when a woman is done being a victim and playing these types of games, she's going to be done. Okay? No one can pull her out of it. She has to be done. She has to decide that, like, oh, there's a much better way. I deserve much better. I want this in my I don't want to be abused anymore. I want to protect my soul, and I want anybody in my life who protects my soul and helps me not to get lose myself in the ego games again. There has to be that type of willingness in a person. Okay? And you have to understand where you're at as well, because I'm developing a little system, little model, and in my model there's 56 types of demons. There's 56 negative emotions, if you will, that pertain to this one specific demon, and I discovered them within myself, not from the book or anything like that. This is why all the psychological models that have been developed are wrong. They're wrong. That's right. I'm denouncing and bashing Freud, Carl Jung. I'm bashing all of these motherfuckers because what they built was wrong. It was wrong, and it's now functioning. The entire psychology, the field of psychology, I'm denouncing because it never helped anybody. The only thing that I can say that would help somebody is hypnosis and hypnotherapy by the people who themselves are at least some degree of alchemist. That is what really helps people. And some of the principles that in hypnosis, they understand that in order to resolve that type of repetitive thought pattern that creates the reality, you have to go at the source where that thing is, and that is a negative feeling, and you have to face this, and the person has to face it, and you have to dismantle and sort of make that knot dissolve, and then it's being released. And when it's being released, then your system is flooded with beautiful positive feelings, because that knot has been released. And now that what people call trauma, but it's not really trauma. It's just a distortion, and it's just something that you came here with already to play this game. And so the hypnotist can help a person to you know, unknot that type of feeling out of which all these other uh, consequence cascade and create these negative things in that person's life, right? But after a few sessions like that, the person can get a hang of it and realize, oh, you can do it yourself. Exactly, you can do it yourself. Okay. But that's the principle. And of course, there's other principles of hypnosis that is not really to release the person from it, and it's just kind of program at the belief level, at the mind level, and still not looking at the root cause and playing with this, focusing on the positive, focusing on positive, focus positive. But this is not how the really life is being lived. The positive is when you go into the negative, because negative, what does the negative do? It says like, hey, place attention here. Look here, motherfucker. What the fuck are you? Where are you placing attention? Place here. When you place attention there, the negative feeling changes into the positive feeling. And that's how you find the positive feeling, through the negative feeling. And that positive feeling never goes away because you dissolve the negative one. So that principle needs to be used. And few hypnotherapists that I've met who are also alchemists, but they're very few, but they can definitely help a person to get up to speed, and the person then can continue their life by themselves, knowing how to navigate this life, you know, and what is at the essence. They can help discover their essence. It's definitely useful and helpful. Osho was talking about this, but I don't think people really got that. People thought like, wow, that's a hypnosis. That's still programming. No, but hypnosis is not just programming. Hypnosis can help you get to these states of consciousness in which only then it's possible to face these things and not these things. So there is help there. That is actually can work, but it's not to rely on a hypnotist anymore. It is so you can see how it is done and then continue doing it yourself. Okay? And you see, I don't know, like, I know that these people who meant to be like enlightened and whatnot, I know that they also feel these time fractals that happen every day, and I know that they have to deal with them, and maybe they're really good at dealing with them. But if a person stops facing life, it's being dragged into the ego again, and this is why it is not like that title is earned and you have it forever. And in rare cases, perhaps it is so, but it's not. The title is earned not because you had it and now it's it. It's the title is earned is because you can handle it so much more, so much darkness. That's what the title is for. And life is still going on, and you have to handle all of that darkness. I mean, if you can't handle, then the title goes away. You lose the throne. So anyway, that's just my little view about this. But okay, trust me, if you follow this principle, because if you're attracted to hoes, then that's your problem to alchemize, right? And if you get a really good girl who's devoted, innocent, and caring, you better work your ass off alchemizing all of the darkness within you and give all the light to this type of girl, okay? And marry this type of girl who would never stab you in the back, never betray you, because you can feel it immediately in that energy that she's open and innocent. I mean, you can feel it, okay? A lot of men, what they do when they find a woman like that, then it's like, oh, I can abuse the crap out of this shit because because she's gullible, you know. Don't be that fucking idiot. So anyway, this is the game basically. The game is slaying demons, never sliding in, growing ego out of any kind of hurt, staying in a soul, keeping acquaintances that are dark, or women who carry this type of energy as an acquaintance, and somebody who's genuine, pure, and clean and open, who have already perhaps been through all of that and gained some level of compassion, that's who you want to be with in a romantic relationship. Okay? And your ego may hate this thing because your ego is addicted to pleasure, right? But if you let go of the ego, what's going to be there instead of that pleasure seeking, there's going to be that bliss. And only then you're going to be able to appreciate a woman like that is peaceful. If you've always been addicted to a crazy bitch that's been driving you nuts, and you see what I'm trying to say. So no, 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 no. All of this is wrong. You can have your domain, your culture, your way of having relationships that are completely immune to any kind of nonsense. People won't understand what the fuck is going on. People won't understand why you're so happy. You know, maybe be even jealous and stuff like that. But you know what happened. Okay? You know what happened. And it's really like this type of loyalty in a man to love and light, I suppose, that peace and bliss energy. You're loyal to that only. And innocence, confidence. You're loyal to those things only. Because everybody else must fall in line and live according to these principles. If they don't, then you're not going to have a good time. You're not going to have a harmonious relationship. And you should not submit anything less than that. And that's the most that you can do in your life. Okay? And you're not an asshole. You don't have to become a brute. You don't have to be abusing women. You don't have to be even judging women. But if she's a psycho, then you keep her as a friend and don't push that energy away. Your peace, your compassion is going to ease her out into, being a little bit more peaceful as well. So she's going to be appreciative, and, so there's this mutual interaction there. You don't judge this type of person there. But you don't, of course, go into the relationship or anything like that with this type of person. Okay? And if you don't, trust me, man, like if you don't interact with on a sexual level or open up to this idea of having sex with the type of woman, trust me, you're going to be able to handle all of this nonsense that's going on. Never be sucked in by it. Literally speaking. Okay? Yes, there are people who are completely NPC based and they're functioning just basically pure hive mind. And if that mind is good, then they're good. If that mind is bad, then they're bad. Okay, there are people like that. There are people with souls who are in the process of playing this game. And there are people who are playing a high level of game. You see? And so that's where we're at. We're like on all these spectrums. And whether that NPC even has capability to become sovereign and have their own soul and grow, like, we don't know. Some may pop out of there, like seemingly like, okay, that doesn't seem like I have a soul. But anyway, it's not a point. The people even who are functioning in the ego and the heart, sometimes they slip in the ego, then goes back into the heart. They even have these NPC modes, right? Where they kind of lose themselves, and that's what the NPC mode is. And some people just live in there all the time. They never get out. Or may get out a little bit for 1 second and just snap back in, right? So we're all on the spectrum somewhere, and that's all right. But when you're dealing with somebody who's just coming out of the matrix, you, you don't simp. You don't uh, let them in, right, into your little heart. You just keep them what is supposed to be, as a friend, as acquaintance. If they need to talk, you talk. You're a human being interacting with everybody in an appropriate way. Okay? And if you do so, and some people don't respect that, they don't want to play this, then that's where they're at. They are at the far outskirts of your domain. Because they're too dirty right now to come in. You see what I'm trying to say? They even to make it to the level of your acquaintance, they still have not done their homework. And so this is why you push them out into hell for them to learn the lessons so they could just come back in and realize that, oh shit, this is much better way of living, right? So anyway, hopefully it makes sense. Test versus trust. If a woman is tests you, then she's insecure. Don't bother passing any of these tests. Keep her as a friend. Don't fucking bother going in any deeper than that. And if a woman displays trust in you, especially if it's a selective trust, it means she chose you. And if if there is a reciprocation, you see what I'm trying to say? Like, oh my god, like there's no love until the woman chooses you in that type of way. Okay, she must choose you, because if she has not chosen you, then there's not going to be any kind of relationship there, right? There's going to be conflicts and all that stuff. You don't want that. Everybody wants this type of harmonious relationship, and there is a way to approach that, and there's a way to play this game in the correct way, but it's nothing to do with what everybody or most people are teaching. And it's everything to do with, you don't need anything outside of you. It's just where you place your attention. Learn to live in this internal world, and only then express it. And it's gonna express naturally. What else I can say, guys? I think that's it. Let's keep it at that. Again, don't buy into this idea that all women are like that and women are like that. Don't buy into this idea of hating women and stuff like that. No. Realize that ego exists, soul exists. Don't play no ego games. Focus all the energy on the soul games, and you're gonna meet the people that you really want. And you're going to be a man because you're gonna have that shield against all of this evil ego stuff. And that's what your woman is gonna appreciate, because you're shielding her from all of that world of ego and the matrix. And she gets to be enjoying that bliss, peace, energy, flowering for you. It's almost like that rose flowering in a pile of coal, which is beautiful. The whole world could be manure, but there's this one little bubble where that flower is growing. And even if that's the case, it's still worth doing. Even if we live in the darkest times, and you're playing this game in the darkest times, most challenging, the goal is still the same. To have some degree of this protected innocence in this world. And that's the way the cookie crumbles. Peace. See you in the next one.